Su Yang pauses for a moment, staring at the two items in front of him, deep in thought. Now the real question arises, how exactly is he supposed to eat these things? He can't just swallow them whole, right? That would be ridiculous. He eyes the flesh and heart, his mind wandering down the slippery slope of culinary possibilities. Maybe he could turn them into a delicious dish. The idea of cooking them flickers in his mind, but just as quickly, regret washes over him. He scoffs internally. The thought of risking his cooking skills, if you could even call them that, on such precious ingredients is laughable. Not to mention if someone else were to do it for him, the chances of them leaking information are way too high. He's already paranoid about that. Thank you very much. His mind jumps to another idea. What if he roasted them with black flames? That could work, right? But then again, what if something goes wrong? That would be disastrous, and he's not about to let a cooking disaster be the death of him. His thoughts spiral, each possibility more ridiculous than the last, and soon enough he finds himself exhausted just from thinking about it. He curses under his breath, frustrated with himself. He wonders why he is overthinking this. It's just some raw blood and guts. How complicated can it be? He shakes his head, realizing he's made a mountain out of a molehill. Su Yang grabs both pieces of flesh and heart, casually holding them in his hands as he begins to eat. No fanfare, no hesitation, just a simple task at hand. But as soon as he takes a bite, something unexpected happens. A massive golden beam of energy erupts from the window, lighting up the entire room as if a sunburst has gone off inside. The air around him crackles with power, and it feels like the very walls are about to ignite. Down in the house garden, his loyal maid is sweeping when she notices the blinding light pouring out of the window. Her eyes widen in alarm as it seems like Su Yang is on fire. Panic sets in instantly. Her heart races, and she rushes to the room, fearing the worst. Without even thinking, she breaks through the window, desperate to get to him. Her mind is a whirlwind of worry as she enters his room, ready to find out what's happening. Inside, Su Yang stands, half-naked, his body practically glowing from the golden energy. He tries to stay calm, but the situation is clearly out of the ordinary. His nonchalance only adds to the chaos, making the maid even more flustered. She can't help but blush, her cheeks turning bright red at the sight of him. Mortified, she mutters something about it being nothing and rushes out, disappearing down the hall in a blur. Su Yang exhales deeply, relieved that the situation didn't escalate further. For a moment, he thought he might have been caught, and the thought makes him shudder. To regain his composure, he checks his system window, a slight frown crossing his face. His stats have reached an absurd level, tens of millions of health points and nearly 30,000 strength. He realizes just how much power he's gained. At this point, he could probably stand there and let someone attack him, and the blow wouldn't even leave a scratch. A single flick of his fingers could cause a landslide, and that's no exaggeration. He thinks about the black flame wings dragon he faced before. Even if it showed up again right now, he's confident that he could take it down easily. Su Yang takes a moment to relax, letting the surge of power settle in his body. The explosive increase in his attributes always brings a certain addictive thrill, as though every joint in his body is humming with energy, urging him to head out and hunt monsters. But he pushes that impulse aside for the moment. Instead, he decides to check in on Lilith, the elf princess. He wonders how she's adjusting to life here, if she's settling in and finding comfort in this strange new world. He makes his way to her room and knocks on the door, calling out to announce his entrance. When there's no response, he enters, but the room is eerily empty. His brow furrows as he looks around. Where could she be? He strolls through her room, glancing at the details, the little things that make it hers when he passes by the bathroom. That's when he catches a glimpse of her inside, taking a bath. His eyes widen in surprise, and before he can look away, Lilith notices him. Her face turns bright red with embarrassment, and in an instant, she panics, grabbing a piece of cloth to cover herself. She starts shouting in a flurry, and Su Yang, flustered, tries to explain himself. He opens his mouth to explain that he knocked and thought she wasn't inside, but before he can finish his sentence, Lilith raises her hand. He reacts instinctively, covering his face, half expecting a slap. "Please don't slap me," he mutters, stepping backward toward the door, trying to get out of the room as quickly as possible. But just as he's about to leave, Lilith sits on her bed, her face still flushed but no longer shouting. She looks at him with a curious gaze and seductively asks why is he in such a hurry. Su Yang freezes. The question throws him off guard, and he stands there for a moment, flustered, caught between wanting to leave and not wanting to make the situation worse. He reflects for a second. This situation is a bit too stimulating for a teenager. Without missing a beat, he quickly turns around. He mutters an apology under his breath, his face turning a shade redder. With a hasty step back, he tells her he has other matters to attend to before making his swift exit, inwardly cringing at how clumsy the whole encounter had been. Lilith finds Su Yang's behavior surprising. She chuckles softly to herself, reflecting that she hadn't expected someone so brave to come across as so innocent. A smirk forms on her lips as she watches him leave, and she peeks out of the window, her mind still on the encounter. He's nothing like the people in the royal court, she muses. The contrast is stark, and something about it amuses her. The strength and power he exudes are undeniable, but there's an almost childlike simplicity to him that catches her off guard. Meanwhile, in the level 2 main city, Jew City, the little princess is absolutely furious. She glares at one of her officials, Tang Sai, demanding that he repeat what he just said. She can't believe it. Someone actually had the audacity to cut in line ahead of her to enter the dungeon. Who could it possibly be? Her mind races as she waits for an answer. Tang Sai, visibly uncomfortable under her gaze, explains that one of his subordinates had everything arranged, but a special reservation had come up unexpectedly. It was for a VIP of the temple, and his subordinates didn't know who the VIP was. The little princess's eyebrows furrow as she hears the words temple VIP. Could it be Su Yang again? She wonders. She can't believe it. It's just too much of a coincidence. The thought of running into him again seems almost impossible. Tang Sai, trying to calm the situation, suggests they go to the Silver Dragon's secret realm and wait there. Once the temple VIP arrives, they can discuss matters and see if there's any way to exchange something with him. But the little princess is already seething, her anger flaring up like wildfire. She snaps at him, telling him to get lost. Tang Sai, unable to withstand her fury, immediately crumples to the floor, practically rolling out of her presence, swearing he'll leave right away. The princess stands still, her anger simmering, but then her thoughts shift. If it really is Su Yang, she reflects, he just tamed the black dragon. There's no way she can compete with him on my own. Her fists clench in frustration, but a new idea forms in her mind. She'll have to ask her teacher for help. It's the only way to deal with this situation. The little princess, her frustration bubbling over, opens her system screen and dials up her teacher. She inquires if he's available, her tone reflecting her impatience. Her teacher responds almost immediately, asking what's the matter and telling her to get to the point if she has something important to discuss. With a deep breath, the princess explains the situation. She had originally planned to explore the Silver Dragon's secret realm, but a temple VIP had cut in line with this special reservation. She suspects it might be Su Yang, and since her teacher knows him, she asks if he could help her out and requests that Su Yang allow her to take the Silver Dragon's secret realm instead. Her teacher reassures her with a simple promise. He will ask Su Yang on her behalf. The princess, still irritated, continues to pace around in her chambers, restless as she waits. Her subordinates stand nearby, their eyes glued to her as they follow her every move in silence, unsure of what to say or do. Time drags on, each passing minute feeling like an eternity as the princess can't help but feel a growing sense of urgency. Eventually, a message finally pops up on her screen. It's from her teacher. She opens it eagerly, only to read that Su Yang had refused his request. She immediately types a response, incredulity clear at her message. Su Yang actually refused. She presses for clarification, asking on what grounds he could possibly reject her teacher's request, given his status as a giant in the Global Beast Master Association. Her teacher's reply is simple but heavy with implication. Anyway, he did not agree. He adds that he doesn't know the reason. However, Su Yang's quite popular right now, though. He has even heard that the war god is looking favorably at him, so he advises her that it might be best not to provoke him too easily. The princess stares at the message for a long moment, her thoughts swirling. The war god, there's only one person who holds that title, and that's Tang Zhan, the strongest in Longxia, the extreme path tyrant. If even he is paying attention to Su Yang, then perhaps his abilities are far greater than she had anticipated. She wonders if his talent truly is as outrageous as the rumors suggest. Just then, one of the princess's subordinates, still unsure of what to do next, asks her for instructions. She responds with an exaggerated crying face, her frustration clear. She mutters, "What is he standing around for? They are going home." Meanwhile, in the Silver Dragon's secret realm, the scene is chaotic. Multiple dragons are sprawled across the ground, unconscious, their massive forms giving the place an almost desolate feel. The only one still standing is the dungeon boss, the Great Radiant Silver Dragon, Starry Tier, level 106. Su Yang approaches the dragon, his eyes scanning the unconscious bodies of the other dragons. He had expected to run into the people from the TNG pavilion, but it seems they've already left. They must have some sense, after all, he muses to himself. It seems that the pavilion didn't dare stick around, or maybe they had something more important to attend to. He looks at the silver dragon before him, noticing that it doesn't even have a name. How strange, he thinks. No special bloodline, no name. It's almost as if it's just another monster in the dungeon and different from the rest. His mind is already calculating the fight ahead, sizing up the creature with a quiet confidence. Without warning, the silver dragon attacks. It's swift and powerful, but Su Yang doesn't flinch. He raises his sword, parrying the dragon's strike effortlessly, his posture calm and unyielding. He stands there, as if daring the silver dragon to come at him again. The air around them crackles with tension, but Su Yang remains steady, a smirk forming on his lips. This is the kind of fight he has been waiting for, he thinks, his eyes glowing red with anticipation. A decent punching bag. He cracks his neck, his grip on the sword tightening. He's eager to test his new strength to see just how much of a difference the recent increase in his stats will make. I hope that you liked today's video, and if you did, hit that like button as today's like goal is 1,500 likes. Comment next part down below to see what happens next. Also, consider subscribing with the notification bell on to get notified as soon as a new video drops onto the channel. You can also join the channel to support me financially and watch videos before public release. I'll meet you in the next video. Until then, thanks for watching.